What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Tonight, we are talking all about Creature Commandos, The Iron Pot, Episode 5. But before we get into all of that fun, Doug, how's it going, good sir?
Well, Keith, I am outstanding. Except I seems as though we're missing a nerd.
Yeah, where's Dave? What's going on?
David, Dave, Dave, where are you, Dave? Well, he's not here. I don't know. I give up.
I do seem to remember him saying something about he is joining a writing group to revive Smallville.
Oh, that does make sense. Just getting right off the bat.
I figured I wasn't going to be able to hit that button tonight without him here, so we might as well work it in.
Fair. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge of Smallville that he does.
No one does.
The fact that he can recall, I kid you not, it reminds me of listening to uber religious people like, oh well, in Matthew 53:42, and it's like, first off, how are you rattling this stuff up? This is Dave. Like, oh, you remember in season 4, episode 6? It's like, no, nobody does. Only you do.
You and maybe the
At
writers.
12 minutes in.
After the first commercial break in about a minute, we now see.
But other than that, I am doing outstanding. And thank you very much for asking, because what makes it even better is being able to spend my time with you, sir, and talk about some awesome nerdy content. But before we dive into that, Keith, sir, how are you doing?
Douglas, I am tremendous. Not the best day, football wise or fantasy football wise, but always a good day, especially when we get some quality animation that we're going to talk about tonight. And then, maybe we'll talk about some not as quality animation if we get time. And we'll see
Are
how
you
the
talking
night.
about What If?
Yeah.
Oh no. I didn't watch today's. I meant to.
You don't need to. But also a trailer drop for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So we'll probably take a look at that
Oh, all
and,
right.
hope that one day Marvel animation can get where DC animation is. But that is neither here nor now. So, Doug, are you ready to talk Creature Commandos, The Iron Pot?
I am, Keith. I am. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. Mainly because it was such an entertaining episode. David Harbour, for whatever reason, just is tremendous as Eric Frankenstein.
He really is.
All the little things that he does, like when he's like talking, when they're peeking in the window, and he's like, "Oh, I lost my contact back."
He's trying. He's trying to be human.
And when they get done, and he's like, after I keep wanting to call him Frank Grillo, but after Rick Flag Sr. gets in touch with the princess, and he's like, "You didn't tell her about me. You didn't tell. How is the bride going to
Right.
know?" And he's like, "The bride's trying to kill her. She's not going to listen to what she says anyway."
I did find that hilarious. He's very much like a kid. He's like, and make sure you ask about the bride. Is the bride there? Is she?
Yes, he is like a 15-year-old boy who has his first crush. But this was more than just Eric Frankenstein being Eric Frank. Well, it was a lot of Eric
Oh,
Frankenstein
it
being
was
Eric
a
Frankenstein.
lot was going on. So much was going on. It was actually a bit unusual, in my opinion, that they were able to spend a little bit of time doing, one of their backstories in there, because it was a busy episode. Not in a negative way, but it seemed like there was a lot going on.
Really, all we got in the present time was they were spying on that expert who, boosted Cersei's claim that, she can see the future and she's right, and that, which led Amanda Waller to send Task Force M back to kill the princess. And of course, the whole scene with the, hey, why don't you tell me about Themyscira? What's your favorite? Boring.
Right. But not just that. We also got to see a little bit of Task Force M, and surprisingly, they are quite effective with or without Rick Flag being there, which I'm a bit surprised about. The fact that, I mean, they must have had a lot of people monitoring them to sort of keep them in check, because it's odd that that Amanda Waller would be this trusting to be like, okay, you guys are going to go without supervision to this country and you're going to follow orders. And to my knowledge, I don't believe they were threatened with the whole exploding, implant. As far as I know, they were just given the whole shock treatment, right?
The only one that we know has the implant is Weasel, because he got
That's
it in
true.
the Suicide Squad. So, yeah, as far as we know, it's only the shock treatment for everybody else. But it's almost like they're fine doing it, because at least it gets them out and murdering people, I suppose.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think of it that way. So this might be like a work release program for them.
Yeah. You can either stay locked up, or we'll let you out to go murder some people we want dead. We'll do the murdering one. We enjoy that stuff. All except Nina. Nina doesn't seem to like murdering. She seems very friendly, very nice. And I can't wait to see her backstory and know a little bit more about her.
Yes.
And why James Gunn put her in this. There's going to be a reason. And
Especially since it was either episode 1 or 2 where the bride even says to her, was it the bride or was it Dr. Phosphorus? One of them said to her, well, you're not even, a creature. You're a human just with gills.
I think it was the bride. But you're right. Everything, that's why I think it's some big reveal, because they're pretty much doing everyone else's backstory before Nina's. So, and I'm assuming it'll be episode 7, the final, where we see Nina's stuff, because it looks like Dr. Phosphorus is getting the backstory treatment next episode, because we kind of see him being, a nuclear scientist and being thrown in the thing. But that's next episode.
Right.
Let's not delve into that too much. But yeah, they took out those military forces pretty much like it was nothing.
Yeah. And I think they showed off Dr. Phosphorus's powers a little bit more so in the way that I would expect in this episode. When they saw him almost like it kind of reminded me of episode 1 of Star Wars, where he's like just, like burning through everything. And I'm like, okay, that seems a little bit more in line of maybe somebody who's giving off like this a radioactive plasma thing rather than just I'm on fire. It seemed like it was a little bit better. I get that for the purposes of this show, it probably doesn't matter to them one way or the other. Like, oh, fire guy burns things.
We just need him to do certain things that like melt through a tank and then kill the people inside. But it really isn't. They weren't like working so much as a team. Just each one of them was just so skilled at murdering that they were just taking everybody out. It was nice to see, only because you didn't want to see it be too close of a match, because they were just military guys. You don't want them to be like, well, Task Force M is pretty weak. A couple military guys were taking them all out. So just seeing them wipe the floor with them was weird.
Plus, if we're gonna have a season 2, I mean, you gotta have them be successful enough that it warrants them going on another mission.
Exactly.
Otherwise, why would Amanda Waller keep using them?
Now, speaking of someone wiping the floor with somebody else, Rick Flag Sr. and Eric go to the professor's house. They find the professor dead, and someone comes home who is looking like her. Now, this is my only nitpick with this entire episode.
Is that you knew that was coming?
Because of the trailer showing Clayface. I was like, because normally I'd be like,
well, that's obviously who. Yeah.
Which shapeshifter could this be? But I was like, okay, it's Clayface.
Come on.
But I love that he like plugs in the Xbox and he's just playing video games, and they're like, okay, we gotta sneak out of here.
when he was saying in that interview that he was playing an opposite version of his character in Harley Quinn, where in Harley Quinn he's an actor and he lives for the theater. This is definitely like an immature bro who plays Xbox and uses slurs online to people that he's like cheating against and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, this is totally a different version of Clayface by far. Hilarious that it's the same voice actor, but
But
totally not the same Clayface.
I was gonna say, you couldn't tell. And the fact that you told us last week that it was gonna be, or 2 weeks ago, I would have never guessed that was Alan Tudyk again,
Oh yeah.
because he is so different in Harley Quinn as he was doing it in this. It was just shows what a tremendous voice
He's
actor he
just
is.
that good. He is just that good of a voice actor.
Then we get Clayface after his tentacles kind of reached out and noticed them leaving, and just beats the living snot out of Rick Flag Sr. I was
Oh
not
yeah.
expecting that.
Ooh, he gave him the Batman treatment.
I was like, just goes to show he's not on the same level as Batman.
Uh,
Oh, he baned him. That's right. He baned, he
yeah.
picked him up, and oh, I forgot about
Uh-huh. Oh, I didn't because that was like my primary note that I wrote down to mention tonight. Is that it for Rick Flag Sr.?
that. I don't think so. Only because we know he shows up in Superman. We saw him on set. And James Gunn has said he plays a role in Peacemaker season 2.
Okay.
So I don't think he's dead. He may be a little too injured for field ops at this point. Or maybe it's comic book lore and he's on death row and then he's back in 2 weeks and he's 100%. But
Sure.
I don't think he's dead. But it was nice to see that, you know, the beating he took wasn't him just,
Hmm.
wipe a little blood off his mouth and then walk away, because Clayface beat the living crap out of him. I mean, he had the hammer hand.
Which now this Clayface seemed somewhat similar to the 90s animated Batman version of Clayface, Ruthless. Willing to take it that far and everything. And I could it does make me appreciate Batman more, the fact that he's gone toe to toe with Clayface and, hasn't been baned by him.
It does show just how good of a, martial artist fighter that Batman is,
Oh yeah.
because even a guy like Rick Flag stood zero chance against him. And that's how it should be. Rick Flag is a normal human, and Clayface is a meta human with superior strength and movement,
I mean,
dexterity.
shoot, he even gave Eric a run for his money. I mean, this dude is a lot stronger. He's essentially an undead, being, I guess, is Frankenstein's monster like basically a zombie, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, brought back to life, but he was dead, so he's definitely undead.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. It was nice.
And even he had trouble.
Yeah, he had to outsmart Clayface. He couldn't just overpower him like he seemingly does with everybody else. He had to
Right.
unplug his Xbox. I hope Clayface saved his game before it got unplugged. And then, just shocked him into it. So kudos, Eric. You did good. You're gaining a spot in the Creature Commandos season 2.
So now we come up to kind of a what if challenge. So, or not what if, a what's next
Thank you.
challenge.
Don't
So,
use what if.
yeah, I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought for sure there was something up with the princess. I didn't trust her. I thought there was something off with the way that, it seemed like she was keeping her mother or grandmother kind of like in check, and almost like she was doing like a Lord of the Rings kind of deal where she's like, "Oh yeah, don't mind the old lady. I'm the one in charge," and so on and so forth. And I figured that once we saw the few I heavy quotes future from Cersei, I'm like, okay, well that cements it. Now that we got this revelation that Cersei was using Clayface to help like push forward this idea that oh yeah, she sees a future and you have to trust her and everything like that. now I'm beginning to wonder. See, I keep going back and forth because one of the things that keeps bothering me about this whole situation is the fact that she didn't kill any of Task Force M. She basically got them out of the way. If you remember, she kind of inflated the bride's arms and knocked her out, and then she trapped Nina in a bathtub, not letting her dry out, kept her in water, but then just put some barbed wire over it to make sure she couldn't get out. So she didn't kill any of them. She could have. And so it makes me wonder, is there something that we should still be concerned about with the princess? Is she potentially still a threat? Or is Cersei lying about all of this?
To me, I think Cersei is lying about it all. I think the fact that they faked an expert on her powers to trick Amanda Waller. I see this whole thing playing out in that this is going to be another huge embarrassment for Amanda Waller. She may be removed from Argus. And maybe we see Rick Flag Sr. take over a leadership role within Argus.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I suppose I could see that.
Because it does seem like, and they could turn it back around on us again, because they kind of made us all start thinking, yeah, the princess is bad, let's go get her, except for Rick Flag, who we thought was just mesmerized by his encounter with the princess. And then they kind of bring it back after this week with the whole knowing Clayface was impersonating the expert to thinking that, okay, someone else is sort of behind it almost. There's more than just Cersei behind this all. Whether it's going to be Lex Luthor, whether it's going to be, some other sort of Vandal Savage, somebody who is kind of manipulating multiple people into.
Okay, now that might make more sense if there was somebody else kind of like manipulating it, because I just can't make heads and tails out of what Cersei's trying to do. Like, she's got an inadequate army of a bunch of like boogaloo boys that live their life on the internet, a bunch of like incels that she's got, fighting for her. And if it weren't for her magic, I don't think they would have been all that successful. And then, like I said, the fact that she didn't kill any of Task Force M, it's just making me wonder, like, what is her end game? What is she trying to accomplish out of all of this?
And it does seem like there's someone else putting things in place that's above her. They're like, this is what you're doing. Take these idiots, invade, don't kill. Like, maybe it's almost a hostile takeover of Argus. And they want somebody to take it over, and that's why don't kill our assets. We're eventually going to have them on our side. So it was something along those lines. I haven't seen any hints on who it could possibly be, except maybe a Gorilla Grodd. Because
he was in the visions, possibly.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder, why would she put him in the vision, except maybe, it's his ego. You got to put me in there, show that I'm, the one taking everybody down or helping take everybody down or something. I don't know, but I do think we're going to find out that someone else is the head of all of this. It's not Cersei. She's a pawn. It's not Clayface. He's definitely a pawn. He just wants to play Xbox and, make money for beating the crap out of people and impersonating professors. So it'll be interesting to see where this all goes. Because you got to think, with a season 2 on the way that we know now, there's going to be more to this story. It's going to continue probably, I don't want to say continue, but it'll be hinted at in Superman. We'll probably see a little fallout of this in Peacemaker season 2 and then Creature Commandos season 2. So it can't be just that simple.
This might sound weird, but I hope that Amanda Waller isn't ousted. Because I would still like to see, even if this sounds a little crazy, I would like to see on the big screen something to do with the Cadmus Project.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Now,
because if this Superman movie is successful, I would love to see another, like maybe a sequel where they are dealing with, like, the Cadmus clones.
Think about it. Let's go into tangent time for just a moment, sir.
All
because
right.
I want to talk about that because it's interesting you bring that up. We think that the Ultraman figure, the person fighting Superman in the trailer, is a clone
Mm-hmm.
that Lex Luthor made.
Okay.
What if he is the first clone, and we could get, much like in Young Justice, the Cadmus Project, with more on it, and where we get Superboy, who is part Kal-El, part Lex Luthor, and we could actually
Mm-hmm.
get Superboy in the DCU through all of that. And if Amanda Waller, there's two things I could see happening. If Amanda Waller does kind of get ousted or gets demoted and Rick Flag kind of takes over the thing,
Mm-hmm.
we know that at one point there was going to be a show about Amanda Waller. That could be her taking back power.
That would be cool.
That would be
I wouldn't mind seeing
fantastic.
that because she is a phenomenal actress. The person playing the role of Amanda Waller, I cannot remember her name.
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis, thank you. Does a phenomenal job. She was weirdly enough, I don't praise the original Suicide Squad because it just wasn't that great of a movie, but she did a good job in that movie. She did an even better job in the Suicide Squad, and so far she's doing she did a great job in Peacemaker the few times she showed up there, and she's doing great in this as being the voice.
Tremendous actress. I would love,
Hmm.
it's either one of two things. If she does get ousted, I keep assuming she's going to. I shouldn't assume that. Her show could either be A, getting back Argus, or it could be maybe taking over control of Cadmus, because Argus and Cadmus aren't necessarily the same. Now, Cadmus could be a subsidiary of Argus, or it could be its own
Hmm.
little thing, and maybe
Well,
Viola,
it
or
it was in the old Justice League animated series.
it was, yes. Doesn't mean it's going to be the same here, but that's
Right,
why
right, true.
it is possible she'll get back control from Rick Flag Sr. of Argus, and then we'll see her shenanigans in Cadmus in a future Superman show, or even another animated project that could take
Hmm.
place. Because, I love the fact that what we are getting from animation in the DCU is canon.
Yeah, I know that is nice.
It's giving us backstory. It's building up the world.
Hmm.
It's doing everything I would love, but is not getting in Marvel animation.
Yes. And there are certain things, I know that I've said this in previous streams, but there are certain things that animation is just able to show better and it just looks better overall. Like I'm trying to imagine this show but all live action and I just don't think it would work as well. Also would be like prohibitively expensive.
You're right. You're absolutely right, sir.
Oh no, I don't have an absolutely drink.
I'll drink two.
Okay.
But you're right. The stuff they are showing in this, if they tried to, one, it probably wouldn't look nearly as good because trying to make Eric Frankenstein, the bride, Nina, and
Mm,
everything else, the CGI or the practical effects involved, one, probably isn't going to look as good as it does in animation, and two, is going to send costs through the roof. So,
oh yeah.
handling it this way is such a better idea. I'm sure there's people who are like, I'm not watching a cartoon, but they're definitely missing out because this has
They're
been
missing out then.
fantastic.
Yeah, this has been just one of the things that I look forward to watching. Just like we were saying in our last stream, how that cliffhanger just made me want to see more Skeleton Crew. Pretty much every episode of Creature Commandos has made me say, I want to see more of this. It's been such a good series. The animation is just really nice. It's nice to look at. I remember saying that when we were doing our trailer breakdown, which you should check out, on YouTube. Just take a look, along with our other videos. But yeah, I remember saying like when we were looking at the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay. So after having watched the um god awful animated movies that they replaced the DC AMU with not nice. Like the voice acting was but the animation was just yuck to look at. And this was a very nice change of pace. Watching the Creature Commandos has been enjoyable all the way, all around. The story, the voice acting, the animation, everything.
And much like Peacemaker, I never hit skip intro when watching it because I
It's a fun
dig,
intro.
I dig that theme song.
I do too.
Now it's not as good as Peacemakers with the choreographed,
No.
but it's still awesome. So, you know, everything you're right about. Like I watch it and I'm like, man, I want next week again, and it's like I'm gonna rewatch all these episodes again. I haven't yet, just because I haven't had time with Christmas and everything else going on. But
Mm-hmm.
I do plan on watching it probably multiple times because it's going to be 7 episodes. Probably only going to be about what 3.5 hours total. Kids go to bed. I can watch a couple episodes. I can get this, knock this out in a few days before Superman comes out. And I do think this is going to play a big role in this universe. A lot of people, Marvel is always down the road. They're like, well, you won't have to watch the Disney Plus shows to understand this. And that was kind of wrong. But this is like, hey, this isn't part of the DCU. If you don't watch it, you might miss some references. You might not understand what's going on in a movie, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They got to stop treading their feet like, oh, you guys don't have to watch this. It'll still all make sense.
Also, here's the other thing about the DC tie-in shows is you may not have to watch them, but you are severely missing out because, and again, I know that I guess Penguin doesn't exactly count, but the fact that these shows that you don't have to watch, but you can because it supplements the stories in the movies, you're missing out if you don't see them because they're that well done. Creature Commandos, I didn't go in with like the highest hopes. I guess I thought like a lot of other people, like it's an animated series, whatever. I won't put much stake in it, but it's been so good. Like every bit of it has been so good.
For me, it was like, okay, James Gunn likes doing this. We're probably going to get more kind of Guardians, more the Suicide Squad type stuff. And while it's been similar and stuff, it's been really good. I mean, there's no doubt that they have done a fantastic job of interweaving all of these storylines together,
Yep.
doing quality flashbacks to learn more about the characters and having it, mean something. I mean, just the fact that he killed that gypsy at the
I
end when he
know.
left. And I was like,
Oh, and like, okay, I understand from his point of view, he did not see it as wrong.
he
He's
did.
got a very you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said that he comes off as kind of childish in the way that he approaches things. Like when he did the whole like, "Oh, I am looking for my contact lens" or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, he definitely got the mind of a child going on in there. And you know. So it does make sense that he would he would decide in his mind, well, I don't want to leave her alone. I really care about her. So the only thing I can do is end her. And I guess to his mind that made sense.
It was
Now,
the
it would have been truly beyond, redeemable if he would have offed the dog too. But I think James Gunn knows better than, that's a step too far. He would be irredeemable. We could never have him immediately canceled.
well, he wouldn't be canceled. Everyone would be like, I want to see Eric get his butt whooped by anybody. But yeah, everyone, oh, he killed an old gypsy lady. We're fine. Okay, good.
Hmm.
But yeah, if it would have been the dog, it would have been different. Everyone would be like, can John Wick join the DCU and take the guy down?
Right? I was a little surprised that we got more about Frankenstein. Like I felt like we had pretty much covered everything we needed to know about him and the bride in like the first two episodes. So I was a little surprised to see more, but it wasn't bad by any means, so I'll give it that.
No, it was very entertaining. It was a very sweet story with the gypsy sort of,
Yeah.
nursing him back to health and going through,
And it does expand his character more, which is nice.
and you learn, hey, she's absolutely, didn't mean to say that, but she's right. The bride doesn't love him, where she did. I mean, she was like the one who nursed him back to health and just teaching him, hey, you don't have to see, have vision to see beauty. Close your eyes and envision your bride. And, you have that with you all the time. Very, very, sort of a, what is the word I'm looking for? Inspired way to look at things. This isn't a handicap to me. I use it to do this, and it's an advantage and all this stuff. So it was nice. It was a sweet story. You kind of like the gypsy lady. She got him back to health, and then he's like, well, time to go. And we get the title of the episode. And nobody said it this episode. I think this is the first episode of Creature Commandos where
But they
the
didn't say the
title wasn't spoken aloud in the video or in the show, in the episode. So I was like, good. We didn't need anyone going, what? Why is there blood on this iron pot? And then just walking out. They didn't do
Well,
that.
we found out at the end.
But
It's funny. It's funny that you bring that up. I was watching over the weekend that movie Juror Number 2 because they keep, advertising it down my throat. And at one point they, of course they utter the line, "All right, well then you're Juror Number 2." And I'm like, they said it. They said the name.
was it any good?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, the majority of the movie was, the ending was terrible, in my opinion.
Well, I won't waste my time because they have been pushing that every time I turn on Max.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's why I finally broke down. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll watch it. Just shut up.
I don't know if there's anything else to think about. All we have to worry about what's next is the princess the villain, is Cersei, Clayface, and anyone else who's part of that group, Legion of Doom, if you will, going on. What are we finding out here? And it's just a great
I would
episode.
love to hear what people have to say in the comments. What do you all think as far as, and even if you watch this video after the live stream, but I want to know what you all think. Is the princess a villain? Do we need to be worried about her, or is it all Cersei, or is there some master puppeteer that's kind of orchestrating this entire thing, and it even has Cersei under their control?
A Vandal Savage Lex Luthor type.
Mm-hmm.
Or a Sinestro.
So, what is next? That's what we want to know. I personally, I do still think there's something of the princess. Like I said, the way that Cersei is acting, it just seems off. I can buy that possibly somebody is saying we want to take over Argus, therefore don't get rid of our assets. What you said does make some sense, Keith. But on a grander scale of things, I think it's more likely that because Cersei has not always come off as purely evil. She's one of those type of villains where sometimes she just does things as like a bit of a trickster god type individual where she's just having a bit of fun. Other times in her mind what she's doing is the right thing because she's thinking maybe like big picture or this is going to end some apocalyptic event 100 years in the future or something. So I'm willing to buy that perhaps there is something off of the princess and maybe Cersei felt that she needed to go above and beyond or like exaggerate the potentiality of this future. Maybe it's not quite as bad as what Cersei is actually seeing, and that's why she needed Clayface. That's
Or-
my thoughts on what's next.
Or the future could be, while the princess isn't all that innocent, it's not because she's going to destroy all the heroes and take over the world, but it's a power struggle between her and who's ever with Cersei and Clayface. And so what do? They try to get that third party involved and be like, hey, Amanda Waller, she's going to kill all the heroes. We're going to trick you into helping our side by taking out one of our enemies. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that the princess is good or Cersei is good. They both may both be bad in kind of a power struggle between two not so nice groups.
What if, I'm sorry to use that phrase, what if Cersei is trying to create an international incident? Do you remember the one guard of the princess? He goes, wow, this is kind of strange how there's, for such a small country, that we have 2 incidents in the same week. A little odd that.
As soon as we start working with the United States, 2
Right.
international incidents in a week. Maybe it's you.
Right? Exactly. Long, awkward pause.
And I just wonder who, if it is sort of a power struggle, who James Gunn would want to be kind of at the head of that and leading that, because he likes the odder characters, so it may be someone we're not expecting. I mean, my first thoughts are always Vandal Savage or Lex Luthor on non-cosmic side, even though Vandal Savage is more cosmic at times too. But it could really be anybody. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's what makes it so interesting to me. It's not so obvious who it is. We don't even know that there's someone out there that's leading them. We're just guessing on it because of
Hmm.
all the people involved. So it'll be great to see how it all plays out. I'm sad there's only 2 more episodes left in season
No.
1, but at least we get a season 2. So be happy for that.
All right.
Should we
I'll be
rate
happy
this
for that.
should we rate this episode, sir?
I think we should. So this was another phenomenal episode. I can't praise Creature Commandos enough. Like I said, it is one of those where I'm captivated by the story that's going on. The voice acting is so good, and the animation style just it's really nice to look at. It's pretty to watch. It's where it's got me completely enthralled. I don't find myself doing this. I'm not goofing around on my phone. I'm not, picking it up in the middle because I'm bored of anything. I actually find myself focused on this, taking it all in, and looking forward to the next one. Not only that, but actually thinking, boy, I kind of want to rewatch that. That's how much fun I had. And again, like what I said with Skeleton Crew, this show also has a really good way of leaving you with a cliffhanger, a good cliffhanger right at the end to make you sit there and be like, no, 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 you can't just end it there. I need more now. I feel like it was a Veruca Salt in Willy Wonka, like, I want it now, Daddy. Like I'm saying, give it to me, WB. I want more Creature Commandos.
Please.
So really good. I'm loving it. I want to see more. So I'm gonna have to give this. I'm gonna say an 8.5.
And I agree. Everything with this is good. The story is good. All of the characters are strong. The voice acting is good. The animation is good. The songs they choose to throw in there is good. The score by Kevin Kiner is fantastic. I mean, like I said, my only nitpick with this entire episode is that we pretty much knew it was going to be Clayface when someone was impersonating somebody else, instead of having to be like, oh my God, which shapeshifter in the DC universe is going to be the one doing it. So, but it was still excellent. The scene with him fighting Frankenstein and Rick Flag Sr., I thought was executed tremendously well. So cool. Seeing the Creature Commandos battling the military, awesome. Well done. We saw all their powers. We saw things that I didn't know I needed to see, like Dr. Phosphorus burning through a tank to kill those guys. So this episode had everything I wanted. So I am going to give it an 8.9. It is so close to being great. I think it can be if they stick the landing like the Penguin did on the last 2 episodes. This series is going to be a tremendous start to the DCU. It has been fabulous. I didn't think it was going to be this good. I thought it was going to be solid. I thought it was going to be good. I didn't think it was going to be, near great. And I'm just happy with every minute I watch.
So I will freely admit that I didn't realize. I also didn't do my research. I didn't realize how much involvement James Gunn had in the creation of Creature Commandos until after we had already, started reviewing it. When you guys had mentioned that this was something that had been in the works long before he was put in charge of the new DCU. Um, so I went in not expecting a lot out of Creature Commandos. I kind of had, I was low expectations, like, oh, it's kind of weird to start this off with an animated series, but sure, whatever. It might be good. And yeah, I think that helped me be even more surprised because I went in thinking it's probably going to be okay. I don't know. The animation looks nice, but that's about all it's got going for it. But then the fact that it was just fun, a good, compelling story with like just the right sprinkle of comedy, beautiful. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's McDonald's for Doug. He's loving it.
Speaking of, I'll be right back.
Yep. So, what do you guys out in the chat think? Are you guys enjoying Creature Commandos as much as all of us are? I know Dave is also. He's not here tonight, but I know he's enjoying it. Let us know. Oh, I'm not too happy with Miss Carey, by the way. For those of you who, to get a little jock talk in for a minute, my team, the Packers, was playing the Vikings today. And if the Packers could have beat the Vikings, that would have guaranteed the Lions the NFC North division title. Unfortunately, the Packers came up a little short, 27-25. And our friend of the channel, Miss Carey, put FTP, which means F the Packers. And I was like, that's rude. And she said, you guys had one job. And yes, we did. But even though these Lions fans are not being, very nice towards us Packer fans, I still hope, now I hope more than ever, they whoop the Vikings next week and win the NFC North, because I really loathe the Vikings. I think I don't hate the Lions as much because they've been so bad for so many years. I think the hatred might be building, if you keep beating us all the time. But right now, go Lions. That's about as much as I can muster.
Go Lions.
But all right, Doug.
Yes, sir.
We got a trailer today.
So we did.
Should we talk about it?
I think we should.
It's called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yep. In fact, Keith, this has given me a bit of deja vu, nostalgia. I remember, quite a few years ago, when we first heard about this. I don't think it was called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man at the time.
It was called Spider-Man Freshman Year.
That's right. That's right. I remember us talking about it in our old studio. Oh, nostalgia. And so it's funny that now all these years later we're ready to talk about it again because now finally a trailer has dropped.
And I knew it was coming because this is dropping at the end of January. But I don't. Well, let's talk about it. Let's watch it. Talk about it, and we'll go.
Let's go and start to talk about it. Yeah, let's do our thing.
I do like that beginning. I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yes. I like that that it looks like, we're diving into a bunch of comic books. That is a nice change of pace. And this, I like the whole panel thing. I don't know if it's going to carry over into the show itself. I think it's nice.
It does tend to, the one thing I do like that, he's already Peter Parker, he's already Spider-Man, so it's very likely we're not going to see another origin story. We don't need to see. We don't need to see him getting bit by a spider. Much like we don't need to see, the pearls being shot with Batman's parents.
I know where you're going. Now, this is not the MCU Spider-Man Peter Parker, right?
It is not. This is not.
I didn't think so.
As they say, canon to the MCU, the sacred timeline. So it's another universe and the entirety of the MCU, but not 616 or 199999, whatever the sacred timeline is. And we do know.
I will say, I was a bit irritated, annoyed that they, in the very beginning of the trailer, they say, from the studio that brought you X-Men 97. And it's like, don't do that because, if you really wanted to mention, from the studio, then you could have given us, a recreation or a reboot of Spider-Man from the 90s, if you're going to go that route, because you saw that it worked wonders for the X-Men. Obviously, it would have worked for Spider-Man as well. I get that this has been in the works for a very long time, so obviously you can't, turn on your heels that quick, but it was right there, guys. It was right there.
You knew they did not think X-Men 97 was going to be as good and
clearly
as
they must not have,
because they decided to do a different Spider-Man than bring back the wonderful animated series from the 90s.
And the amount of applause and praise that the small little cameos of Spider-Man in X-Men 97 got from people, that I mean Come on, Marvel. Pay attention to your fans.
Once again, they did not anticipate what was going to be popular.
No, no, they did not. All right, but let's go ahead and continue this.
Oh, there it is.
Uh-huh.
You know, it does remind me of the Spider-Man Homecoming when he was making the YouTube videos of himself, and kind of that uniform, only a little bit different.
Is my suit really that bad?
So the only thing that I can gather from this, I remember you had mentioned that this used to be called Spider-Man Freshman Year. So the only thing that I can gather from this is that this is truly supposed to take place his freshman year of high school. Because that suit is so, like, I literally just put this together in my garage last night kind of thing. Like, the fact that he's got this whole backpack unit in order to feed the web. It's like, this is not something that I think I've ever seen in any iteration of Spider-Man in any of the comics or anything like that. This is very, scrappy Spider-Man. And I don't hate the costume, and I don't hate, watching Peter Parker advance through the years and make it better and better. It kind of reminds me of Tony Stark constantly improving his Iron Man suit. I kind of now look at, Peter Parker. Oh, yeah, obviously he probably went through many phases of his web shooters. Like, we don't just have the final version that he ends up using forever.
Yeah, he didn't perfect it his first time. And the thing, too, it would be nice because of the way we've talked about before on this channel. Spider-Man got brought in during Captain America's Civil War, so it was already, craziness going on, Civil War, right. Infinity War, Endgame. He didn't have time to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who learns how to use his powers, learns how to be a hero, and do all that. So we're kind of getting that here, even though it is not canon to the MCU.
Not canon to the MCU, but I did see a character in there when he was leaning up against the lockers that looked kind of like she might be what's her name from the first movie?
Liz
yes.
Allen?
Looked like Liz Allen.
That's what I thought too. So I think it's probably going to be Liz Allen, but they haven't confirmed anything of that nature. We do get him beating up some thugs in the alley here. Obviously, someone's filming it for YouTube.
Just consider it a good deed from your friendly
He
neighborhood
strings them up.
Spider-Man.
That's always
That's
nice.
me. By the way, I'm Spider-Man.
Now here is the thing that makes upset. We get the whole train thing that they love doing. But we find out that Spider-Man is going to be working with Norman Osborn. And to me, we see him talking
weird,
to Captain
right?
America. It is weird, but it does have a thing in the comics where that kind of came up. In Zeb Wells' run on the Amazing Spider-Man, it's a whole thing, and I won't get into it, but basically all of the sins of Norman Osborn were taken out of him, and I won't get into it all, but Norman Osborn was trying to make good. And so he was running a corporation, and he hired Peter Parker, and he made himself to be the Golden Goblin. So he was like a hero, and he was helping Spider-Man. And he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and he had built him some stuff for his, his costume and stuff. And so this is kind of like that. I was almost like, okay, this is kind of the Zeb Wells run on Amazing Spider-Man. But I didn't really like it in the comic run that much. Because I'm never a big fan when a villain is like, I'm good for a little bit now. They're always going to turn again. And, I knew it was coming with Norman. It did eventually. And in this, I wonder where they're going to go with it. Because Coleman Domingo is doing the voice for Norman Osborn. And he really has a excellent voice. And I'm looking forward to see him playing Norman Osborn. But I just don't know if I like him teaming up with Spider-Man, especially this early in his career. Why would he take an interest in some kid who's, making YouTube videos and bouncing around the city and doing all this? So I hope they do a good job of bridging that from him just jumping around and, filming videos to working with the head of Oscorp.
I agree, but for a slightly different reason. So, while I agree with you that yeah, it is strange to have Norman Osborn do like a turn heel and all of a sudden, oh, I'm a good guy, I'm going to help Spider-Man. And yeah, I'm very interested in this poor kid from Queens, being the man spider or whatever. Yeah, that is very weird. But the main reason that I dislike it is the sheer fact that every iteration of Spider-Man that I am used to is always a down on his luck kid that is attempting to do this on his own. The fact that every now and again he forces himself to like reach out to somebody for help, like begrudgingly. Like every now and again he'll reach out to Dr. Connors and be like, "Okay, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand what I'm looking at here. Can you help me out?" "Oh, yes, of course, Spider-Man, because you saved my life. Yes, I'll help you out," and everything like that. But very rarely does he have help from other people. And the fact that he's got almost this like mentor-esque figure. We've seen that already happen in the movies when Tony Stark, took this sort of mentorship over him. And it's like, that's fine for the MCU. I get it to a point, but like, okay, fine. And it was a nice, almost breath of relief when like we see at the end of spoilers, Spider-Man No Way Home, where it's like, okay, yeah, now this is Spider-Man. He's on his own. He's truly on his own. He does not have a base to like return to. He doesn't have anybody that's gonna make his gadgets and his suits and everything. He's got to do this stuff on his own. And I think that is the ideal Spider-Man. That's the Spider-Man that I like the most, is the one that is he has to struggle, and you feel more connected to him because of that struggle, because he is constantly trying to fight with, I can't have an ideal social life. I can't be with my friends and my family because I've got to juggle, being Spider-Man and doing the right thing, great responsibility and all that. But also because this job doesn't pay, being Spider-Man doesn't pay, I also on top of that have to also have a job to pay my rent in an overpriced New York apartment.
Now, would you say with great responsibilities, there's also great power?
That will soon come due to your response. Yeah, yeah, I might say something.
But no, you're 100% right, Doug. I agree. I we've seen Spider-Man with the mentor, with getting him suits and building gadgets for him. I would prefer to see him on his own, much like I really hope Marvel does the right thing and we see that street level Spider-Man in Spider-Man 4. We don't need to see another multiversal crazy Sinister Six,
No.
some craziness going on. That's not what we want.
Just give us a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but not this one.
Kingpin, Daredevil, whatever. Now the good thing about
No.
this show is Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are doing voices for Daredevil and Kingpin in it.
Now that I didn't see. Interesting. All right.
So they didn't show any of it in the trailer, so hopefully that's good. And I do hope with this whole Norman Osborn thing, he's doing it to try to steal Spider-Man's power or something along those lines.
That would be cool.
That is my hope, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but we don't need to see a good guy Norman Osborn. We don't need to see it.
With my help, you'll achieve greatness.
Oh man!
We get that new
this
suit.
dude's
We kind of get that
incredible.
scene from Spider-Man 3 where he's
If
checking
you ever need
himself out
another
in the
butt-kicking,
mirrored
just look for
building.
your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
This is a weird suit to choose that they got. Yeah, we're getting a chance the
And no,
29th.
you may not be
And then obviously we get this sort of sad sack Parker at the end with,
Join us, Mr.
glad you could join us,
Parker.
Peter. But, I hope it's
Yeah.
good. I'm not sold on this yet. Nothing in that
Neither am
trailer
I.
showed me
This
that.
suit is weird. I don't think I've ever seen a white and black Spider-Man suit like that. That's different.
It was in the game.
Oh, okay.
If there was, it's somewhere else. I'm not aware of it, but I know it was in the PS4 Spider-Man game, which was a huge
Okay,
hit and
well,
stuff. So
That makes so much more sense now. That was a big hit. A lot of people loved that game. I can see why Disney would jump on that,
Yeah.
marketing wise.
yeah, oh yeah,
But yeah, I'm with you. I'm not totally sold on this, but if you watched our review earlier, if you were here earlier to watch us talk about Creature Commandos, one of the things that I constantly praised it about was its animation, how sleek it looked. This is not it. This Spider-Man, their friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, I don't know what they were going for with this, but it's like a faux 3D. Like, I think the line work, I think they're trying to emulate like comic book drawings, and it kind of gives off almost a 50s Spider-Man comics vibe, kind of. But like the janky animation, like I can't quite put my finger on like why it looks so off, but it doesn't look smooth, you know? Like it looks like early 3D animation before they had kind of before they like figured out how to make things not look weird. Like every now and again, you'll see those of you who also watch anime, some of the cheaper animation studios where they're doing it in like this sort of like faux 3D, it looks bad, and that's because usually they are creating this anime to sell some other product, whether it's like a phone game or a manga or something else like that. But that's what this kind of looks like. It's it looks unpolished. And I know that it is supposed to, like I said, have this sort of stylized 50s comic book look, but it's just not working for me.
I'm with you. You know, it kind of looked in the stills we got. I was like, they're really trying to imitate the Steve Ditko Spider-Man look.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was kind of like, okay, I can get on board with that. I like that look. It's maybe not my favorite Spider-Man look, but I kind of like it and I can, dig it. But the animation, you're right. It's like, it feels like stop motion at times.
Choppy. Yeah, there you go. Stop motion. Yes, very much so.
And I don't dig it. I don't like it. It distracts, I think, from what's going on. Just from what we've seen in the trailer. I'm not a big fan. I may change as we watch, this show. Maybe we'll change. I don't know how many episodes we're getting. I'm assuming it's just one episode to start because I didn't say the 2-episode premiere, but we'll get more information later. But
you know what's really weird about it is the fact that Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, that animation also wasn't super smooth, but it worked better.
It was smooth at times.
It looked
though.
finished.
It just had a unique style to it that worked.
Yes.
And because we had never seen anything like it before, and you sit in the theater, and I was just mesmerized by it. Where this, I'm taken out of it. I'm taken out of the scene with how it is. And if that's the choice they made, honestly, I hope we don't get a season 2 of this. I'd rather them do something else.
I could see a studio making that kind of call purposefully.
Yeah,
this did well, therefore do it again.
Let's do something that hasn't been done before. So we'll get praised for it. Except, oh no, people are saying it's not good. Now we're in trouble. And I just really, I hope it's good, but I really want to be done with non-canon animation.
Yeah.
Let's use animation to bridge the gap between movies or tell a story that is outside the bigger picture but could add a lot of meaning down the line. Do the right thing. Do how DC is doing it right now, where we're getting a story, it's building the stuff. It's not, okay, this isn't canon. It's going to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man's super popular, so we're just going to keep doing Spider-Man everywhere we can. It's not canon, and the movies that Sony make are not canon, but this is canon, but not this. Stop it.
I'm assuming that they did this probably for some licensing reason. I'm guessing they probably figure we have to put out, in order to keep the rights for animated Spider-Man TV series, we have to put out something like every couple of years or so. Because this doesn't look like something anybody really wanted to do. Like, I don't know, there just doesn't seem like there's a lot of passion in it so far. And again, I know that I'm basing this entirely on a trailer, but I don't know. It doesn't look fun.
And you guys know, if we're wrong, we'll admit it when this comes out. We have said
totally,
so on numerous occasions, but I mean,
and I do hope it is good. I hope that I am wrong.
It would have been much better, like we talked about earlier, from the studio that brought you X-Men 97, Spider-Man 98,
right?
Instead of this.
It was there. Come on, guys. And again, I know that this was decided years and years ago, probably before the pandemic, is most likely when they started working on this stuff. So, I'm not gonna knock him too hard, I guess.
Yeah, wait to see it.
Yeah.
Wasn't thrilled by the trailer, but they could do some good. Knowing Charlie Cox is showing up as Daredevil, and
That'll be nice.
Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. At least the episodes therein will probably be entertaining. And now we have one more thing we can talk about tonight, if you want.
Oh, all right.
What if?
What if?
So you haven't watched the last episode yet.
Nope.
Didn't like it. I was hopeful.
Oh.
Did you see episode 7? The cliffhanger
Yeah.
to episode 7? So I
Yep.
was like, okay. This is kind of what I wanted. Hopefully this is good.
Yeah, the fact that it took them this long to actually get to something, I was like, oh, this is actually an interesting kind of story. All right. But now you're saying that they didn't, what, there was no follow through?
Well, there was, but like the Watchers sort of are fighting Uatu and the other, but they're like giving themselves swords and armor and like fighting it out. And I'm like, what on earth are these people thinking? Like Peggy and Storm and Birdie and Kalal, I forget her name, all become Watchers. They take the oath and become Watchers too. And then they're like fighting the Watchers who say, there's another power we didn't show you and we're going to wipe you out of existence.
Whoa,
And
wait a minute. Hold on. Anyone can just become a Watcher just like that?
According to this show, yes.
That is not the way it worked. Oh my gosh. I know that we agreed not to, like, oh, that's not in the way it's done in the comics. I remember there was a comic story where it was almost given as a punishment to Nick Fury,
Yeah.
where he was forced to be a Watcher, and it was like not a thing that he wanted to do.
Yep. That did happen. And yeah, oh my God, they just, I can't even say how little I care for this season. Like the first 2 seasons of What If, I was like, okay, hey, there's some good stories here. I kind of liked some of them, didn't like others.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like the What If comic. There's sometimes I read a What If comic and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was really cool. And others I'm like, why did I waste my time reading that? That nothing.
Right.
Season
You mean
3,
like the birth of Birdie?
yes. Oh dear God.
Oh, dumb.
There was so many episodes on here where I just shook my head like, what on earth is going on here? Why am I watching this?
Mm-hmm.
This makes no sense. The only, like we talked about last week, the only episode of any merit this entire season to me was
Episode 3.
the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
That was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And like the
And I will always, love a cartoon giving anti-capitalist messages. Let's go. Bring it on.
100%. Yeah, when
Every time he spouted like that is right, workers, unite together, then you will be powerful. I'm like, yeah.
you tell him, Red Guardian. Yeah, instead we got
Oh, gosh, that was the buddy cop sort of thing that I would have loved to have seen more in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was so much fun to watch.
Yep. Instead, we got Dragon Ball Z or Mech Watchers because the first episode with the Mighty Avenger was so terrible they had to redo it with this.
like-
I mean,
Knockoff Voltron or whatever.
yeah. They just made some bad decisions. And the worst thing about it all, the worst thing about all of this, and I'm not trying to bring everybody down, but I know this is going to do it. The guy, showrunner from What If, is going to be the showrunner for season 3 of X-Men 97. I hope.
Wow, I had not heard that. That is like severely disappointing.
I hope that the writers are just good enough to tell a good story and do the right thing, and they have a plan for what it should be already, and he cannot mess it up too bad. But man, after watching this, I was like, they're gonna screw up X-Men '97 now. They are totally gonna blow it.
Probably. I mean, for all his faults, and like I said, I know it's not like super clear what happened, the fallout between X-Men '97's creator Bo DeMeo.
Yeah, Bo
Uh,
DeMille.
what exactly happened between him and There's a lot of rumors flying around, but nothing has been said. This is absolutely it outright. Um, whatever the case may be, he clearly cared very much about the characters, even after he was no longer in charge of the project after he had been let go. He was still constantly praising it, constantly interacting with fans, talking about it. You could tell that he very much understood the characters, understood the original animated series, and wanted more of that. And you could tell that entire series was so good, so phenomenal. And if they cannot keep that going, if Disney drops the ball on this, what was like a bright light in bunch of muck, because like they didn't have a whole lot of winners at that time when that came out. And so when we were watching that, it's like, oh, this is legitimately good. Too bad this isn't like canon to anything.
Yep. So hopefully we're wrong. Don't want to, end the year on a sour note, but what if left? I mean, I got up this morning and watched it and was just like, oh, thank God that's over. It really was just a bad season. I'm glad it's the last season. When this was coming out, it's like, okay, what if in the multiversal saga? That makes sense. They could do some good stuff with that. They never really did anything that great with it. Never anything that really stood out. There were some good episodes, but for the most part, it was just silliness and things that didn't push anything forward. We're not going to see the Infinity Ultron in any way probably ever again. And I'm certainly not advocating to see him anymore. It's, maybe we'll see the Watcher post this be, more in line with helping people out and not being persecuted for, manipulating events a little bit. I don't know, but such a bad season.
Do you know who told that kind of story better? The whole like Infinity Ultron, while I've been alone for eons and I see the error of my ways. Do you know who told that same exact story better?
Stephen King.
The Justice League animated series.
You're right.
There's an entire two-part episode where the Toy Man had created this ray, and it was supposed to be like a disintegration ray, and he blasted Superman with it because that was like the one foil to all of their plans. This was like another recreation of the Injustice League or whatever. It was like Toyman and a bunch of other people. And what he didn't realize is it actually blasted Superman into like the far off future. And in this future, it was just Vandal Savage, just him all by himself, and he had been living there for millions and millions of years. He had attempted to kind of like rebuild things, and he was like replanting life on Earth, and helping the animals repopulate and everything, because he was so guilty over everything that he had done. So instead of just sitting there staring and feeling bad for himself, he was attempting to like atone for his mistakes. And when Superman is like hitting him, he's like, "Yeah, I deserve this." And he wasn't even fighting back. And when he, finds out, wait a minute, there might be a way to send you back and undo all of this, like instantaneously, like without absolutely, what I did is wrong. You have to go back to the past and stop me. Phenomenally well told story, and I think it helped in having that extra bit of time spent just with Superman, hanging out with Vandal Savage, hearing about what he did, having Vandal like how he is. He's sort of like, oh yes, I remember nostalgically when I declared war on the entire planet and eliminated all life, but what can you do? It's like he knew that it was wrong, but he wasn't gonna have a pity party over it. And when I was seeing that first episode yesterday, I was like, oh, that's what this reminds me of, but like worse.
Yeah, man. If you, I kind of want you to watch it just to hear you go Wonder Woman '84 on it because it was so
Oh
poorly
no.
done.
Do I
But
need to get out my notebook?
I also don't want you to watch it because I don't want.
Well, I'm
want you
gonna
to
watch
suffer
it
through
now.
I know. I was just so disappointed because we had talked about it. Oh, it's finally getting to something we kind of want to see,
Mm-hmm.
and they just
Well, the
dropped
first two
ball.
seasons weren't that bad. The first season was pretty darn good. I enjoyed it. I mean, it got to the point where we were legitimately thinking, oh, they're building up this evil Doctor Strange, and this is what's going to be in Multiverse of Madness. And then it's like, oh, no, he wasn't. But you know what? It was still an okay show.
It was enjoyable. The Marvel Zombies episode was good,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of good things going on in there. And they just, for whatever reason, they could not put together this third season. Like the whole. Now the thing is, Natasha Lyonne is in the Fantastic Four First Steps movie.
Oh,
Do you think she's playing Birdie?
that had to be her voice.
It was her voice.
Oh, all right, all right.
Yeah. I
Oh, wait,
checked.
do I think that Birdie is going to appear in? Please, no.
Okay,
Please
good.
don't do that.
They haven't said who her character is yet, and after finding out she did the voice for Birdie, I was like, please do not have that character show up in Fantastic Four First Steps. Please play somebody else. Please.
We do not need a bestiality love child to be canon MCU. Please do not do that. I don't know if we're gonna get demonetized for me saying those words, but Marvel did this. They did this. It's almost as bad as all the episodes that Rick and Morty were doing that dealt with you know what.
Yes. I hope it isn't, and I'm hoping they still have not announced who she's playing. And I'm like, if they were waiting for the What If Season 3 to drop to say, hey, and guess what? She's playing Birdie, everybody, the beloved character from What If.
No.
Chirp, chirp, chirp. Where's the fanfare?
Hi, I I know that I haven't technically bought my ticket to Fantastic Four yet, but if you could preemptively give me a refund. Yeah, thanks.
Now, we don't know if she's playing her yet, but I think we will protest that movie if it is.
Oh yeah. The whole torches, pitchforks, all of that add on if we find out that is the case, for sure.
And just so you know, has not been confirmed, but there's rumors circulating that the Fantastic Four movie is going to be delayed. Not too long, still coming out in 2025, but pushed out of July, which,
It looks like we got a comment on YouTube.
oh, nice. Marvel Studios going to stay family friendly. Warner Brothers DC can take risks. Well, there's certain risks you probably want to take. Having a love child between Darcy Lewis and Howard the Duck might not be the risk anybody wants to take for anything, especially with how terrible that episode of What If was. I love Seth Green. I'm not a big fan of Kat Dennings, but Darcy has grown on me since WandaVision. She was the most annoying character possible in Thor the Dark World and Thor. But she had a little redemption arc in WandaVision, and this kind of brought it back to Thor the Dark World levels. So let's hope that's not the case.
Well, we can just keep saying alternate universe, alternate timeline, not the normal Darcy.
Yes, because Loki was still, in Jotunheim. He was not adopted by Odin. So, yes, it was definitely not 616 or 199999. It was not the sacred timeline. So please don't do it. And every time I see any sort of thing on Twitter or anywhere talking about an update to Fantastic Four, I'm like, if this is announcing Natasha Lyonne as Birdie, oh, dear God. The hype level is going down. But getting back to it being possibly delayed, I kept thinking, because it's done filming. They have plenty of time to get everything in place for a July thing. I wonder if how successful Superman's trailer was. Over 250 million views, millions upon millions of social media hits, all this stuff going on. If they're like, you know what, this movie's going to be a juggernaut. Let's get out of its way a little bit. Because it's not a bad idea. if it's going to be huge. Now, movies can release on the same day and both be awesome. We remember
Right.
Barbenheimer.
True.
So, but maybe they're like, you know what? We're going to take some extra time to finish it up, do it right, get Birdie out of all the scenes after what if, and, let Superman do its thing, and then we'll get our time in the spotlight and hopefully do as well. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah, that's fair. So, few other things about What if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Could you or somebody explain to me why in the Ten Rings episode, why he was still called that? I did not see any of the rings 1 through 10 anywhere on his person or any other person.
Because they had to ring the bell 10 times to summon him. See, it's cleverness. It's good writing. It's awesomeness. They
Is that what that was?
I think so. No, it wasn't. That was sarcasm on my part.
I
But
was about, I'm like, what the hell?
talk about wasting
That was-
voice actors too for that
Okay,
episode.
okay.
Walter Goggins, Semilu, Haley Stanfield, all those good voice actors coming in to do that episode, and it was
Kind of gone to
just
waste.
yeah, very blasé.
Yeah.
Just not very good. Not very good. The
No.
twist that the Hood was his sister. Who saw that coming?
I knew as soon as you said, "Hi, my name is Matt."
Exactly. Exactly.
As soon as he's just like, "The Hood has my sister," I'm like, "The Hood is his sister."
Oh, and Kevin says Sonic 3 and Musafa doing pretty good at the box office. True. Movies, they can have releases. We've seen it with Barbenheimer, as I said. Sonic 3 and the new Lion King movie, both doing fantastic. It can be done, but I think maybe because it's two comic book movies like this, they just probably want Superman have its time to breathe, especially with, at one point, Blade, as laughable as that may sound, was going to come out this November. They have a place to put it where it's has its own space and won't be fighting with the first film in the DCU. So I don't think it's a bad idea, as much as I want it to be July 25th. If they push it back a few months, that's fine with me.
You know what I find interesting is, or I guess something that I might be potentially worried about, is the fact that we were talking before about how James Gunn said that he's not going to greenlight anything until he has a completed script. And I hope that he doesn't run into an issue like what you were just describing with Blade, where that was a situation where, technically speaking, there was a completed script. It's just everybody involved hated it, apparently, and decided to go back to the drawing board. But yeah, no, you're right. It was supposed to release in November because at the time when they had made that announcement, the script was completed and they were going to begin filming.
I hope it means that it's a completed script that's approved.
By all parties involved.
Yes.
Okay, look at the script. No. Beyond page 1. Does this sound like a kind of character you would want to play? No? Great. No, we're not greenlighting it yet.
Oh, and Kevin asked, why would Marvel Studios delay Fantastic Four first steps from July? The past 8 DC films have bombed at the box office. Only because the trailer for Superman did over 250 million views. It had tons of it was trending on every social media platform. So much talk about it. We talked a lot about it, and we were getting a lot of people coming into the stream talking about it. And any film that has had that sort of trailer release has done tremendous at the box office. And the only films that have really done that well is like Endgame, Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home have had that many trailer views. So I think they just might be thinking, okay, we may be right near something that's going to do well, and they can take their time because they have the spot later on that was previously held by Blade. They have a place to put it. It's not going to change anything. The movie's still going to come out this year, and I think they're just kind of getting out of the way of a potential juggernaut. Because it could hit into their box office if people are still going and seeing Superman over and over again. Which I can't say I'll be doing, but if you saw my hoodie from last stream, I probably will be.
Now, I do want to kind of correct something that you did mention, though, is Fecky said the past 8 DC films have bombed at the box office, and that's not entirely true. So, out of the past ones that came out, Black Adam, yes, that bombed. Shazam: Fury of the Gods, that was like almost right after the pandemic. Yes, that didn't do as well. But weirdly enough, the original Shazam did do pretty darn good. The first Aquaman did weirdly good.
Yeah, it did
So
over a
did the
billion.
first, yeah, so did the first Wonder Woman. That got a lot of high praise. And I remember the original Justice League, while it was criticized heavily, it still made its money back. So while it might not have been critically acclaimed, it was, according to the budget, it was not a bomb.
Hey, what a
So
one you missed a movie. What about The Flash?
I'm not talking about the Flash, not even mentioning that mistake that shouldn't have existed. I notice I also didn't mention Wonder Woman 84.
Yes. Well, and the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad.
That's
its
right,
box
the
office-
Suicide Squad.
Its box office was hurt because it was released on Max the same
Yes,
day.
the same day. And while that was super fun for me because I got to go home and rewatch it immediately, I understand how that really hurt as far as box office returns. I don't know why they did that.
And it's funny, Doug. I did the same thing. We got home and I turned it on. I couldn't stay up for the whole thing. I was editing or at the movie spoiler-free review, and I had it on, and I finished it, and I was like, okay, and turned it off and went up to my room, laid down, turned it on, and I wake up in the morning and it's like juror number 2 coming out soon, and I'm like, wait, what? That's not even being made yet. How are they advertising for that? But hey.
But yeah, so the other thing that that I do want to mention is going back to what Keith was saying as far as trying to move things because Superman got a huge, a lot of people were watching it, a lot of people were talking about like how great it's going to be. It's very difficult to judge DC just en masse as like all of the movies combined because it is you got to kind of think about them in their own separate divisions as far as like when they were released, who was kind of like in charge of things at the time, because DC and Warner haven't always been under the same ownership. It's kind of been tossed around quite a bit. So these new upcoming, movies and TV shows under, in the DCU, I think they're going to do a lot better because if you look at, again, we were talking about the Suicide Squad. While it was, it bombed at the box office, it had high critical acclaim. I mean, people loved this movie. It was
and tons of views on Max. It was the number one movie
yes.
when it came out. It was stretching their servers to the limit.
Yes. It was so well done. And then Peacemaker got such a good response. This is what led them to saying, you know what, maybe James Gunn's kind of the answer. Maybe we need to bring him in. So the fact that the Suicide Squad did good as far as critics are concerned, and the Snyder Cut of Justice League did not do that great, both streaming on Max. The views not really that comparable. And the fact that Peacemaker also got like tons of people talking about it, tons of views, a lot of people subscribing to Max or HBO Max at the time because of it. It's a lot to say that maybe this next iteration of DC films is something to kind of keep our eyes on, and maybe even Marvel is worried like, oh, DC's looking kind of good right about now.
And think about it, Creature Commandos has already been renewed for season 2. We haven't seen any streaming numbers, but I'm guessing they're pretty good if they already renewed it for season 2 before the season is over. So, despite the DCEU doing terrible at the box office,
I don't think we can
said,
judge DCU based on them.
This is a whole new regime. James Gunn does have a lot of fans, and I think he makes movies that are more geared towards general audiences. Well, he can make them geared towards more general audiences. Peacemaker season 1, I would not say. My son will not be watching Peacemaker season 1, even though I crack up every time. I saw a reel the other day. Him and Vigilante were sitting there, and they have the moth captured, And he's like, okay, tap once if it's yes, tap twice if it's no. Do you understand? One tap. And then Vigilante's like, hey, do you know who took the thing? And he's like, yes or no questions only. And then
What's your favorite color?
Why would we need to know his favorite color? Is your favorite color teal? Why would you pick teal? First off, I don't know. It's a shot in the dark. Okay, there's 2 rules: yes or no questions, and you can't be a dumb F. I'm gonna have a tough time abiding by that second one.
Oh my gosh. Oh, such a good show.
High quality, fantasticness, and we're getting that out of Creature Commandos, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does Superman, because that is definitely out of his wheelhouse, writing that type of character. But he's a good writer. I mean, he can crank out scripts, it seems like, in 2 weeks that other people take years to finish. He's just that good at kind of piecing things together. I think the way he plans it all out in his head, and it just comes out in the fact. It's so funny because someone said that the Superman is a mess behind the scenes, and Warner Brothers isn't happy, which I doubt is true, because James Gunn scripts out every scene. He storyboards everything, and I can't imagine any one of his productions is a mess. Now, some people may not like the final version of Superman. That may be possible, but I think people are just trying to get clicks, because there's no way it was a mess.
I would think so, because I know that there is a section of the audience that is very much still in the Zack Snyder camp, thinking that everything that was within that era, even if his name wasn't on it, if he had no stake in the writing or the directing or anything within that era is now considered the Snyderverse. And they seem to have this idea that anything that was in that era, perfection, anything that James Gunn is going to do is going to be terrible. Don't even worry about it. It's going to sink. And the Warner gods are going to reinstate their almighty Lord.
Yes, I mean, even Netflix is, I think, trying to get out of the Zack Snyder business.
Wouldn't blame them. Wait a minute. Keith, are you saying that the darling film Rebel Moon parts 1 and 2 wasn't the smash hit that they thought it would be?
It was not. It did not do good numbers for Netflix.
Oh, but you must be thinking of the original. What about the Snyder Cut version?
Did they release the Snyder Cut of Part 2 yet?
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't been paying any attention.
Neither have I. I know the first part was, but I haven't heard about the second.
Oh God, yeah, I haven't even because I haven't even watched the Snyder Cut of the. After I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, this just looks stupid. Like somehow dumber than the original cut. Like I didn't know that was possible, but like I'm watching the trailer, I'm like, this is bad.
It was god awful. I mean, you gave it a negative points for the non-Snyder cut.
It was so bad. It was literally worse than Wonder Woman 84. I cannot believe I'm saying that.
It is shocking to hear it come out of your mouth, but you are not wrong. Like, I would watch Wonder Woman 84 again. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
But if it was you're watching Rebel Moon or Wonder Woman 84, I would have no hesitation in going with 84.
At least I can have fun with Pedro Pascal chewing the scenery.
Yep.
You know, like his over-the-top acting was stupid, but I can have some fun with it. Rebel Moon was just boring. It was dull, and it was a slog to get through.
And no, I only remember one character's name from that whole thing.
Tim
with 2 M's. Yes. But
was it something Blood Axe?
Yeah, Blood Axe. Who was killed off.
There was...
And the only reason I remembered, I'm like, that is the dumbest name I've ever heard. Then, he's dead. Nice. Oh no.
This character that I knew so much about and cared very much for.
And I mean, there was like comic books planned for Rebel Moon and a video game, all that have gotten canceled.
They were going to have action figures, and they were going to get into the merchandising.
And unfortunately, none of that is going to happen now.
Oh, darn. What a shame. There was, if I remember, I think there were some Funko Pops released.
Oh, I'm sure there were. I'm more excited for
Like Titans.
for the Herculoids comic book coming out because I loved the Herculoids from when I was a kid.
The old animated shorts?
Yeah,
Yeah, those were kind of fun. They were, that was like a Hanna-Barbera thing with
it was.
Birdman, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. I remember watching those a long time ago.
There was like
I
a big
forgot all about
ape and like a rhinoceros that shot stuff out of his horn. And
Yes, yes.
oh man, I saw some. I forget where it was, and someone's like, "Did you ever hear of the Herculoids? There's a comic coming out." I was like, "Oh,
Nice.
it's like Thundar the Barbarian, the Herculoids." That was all the cartoons I watched as a kid. So
Yeah, there was that. There was the Birdman, and then there was also. So at the time, I was also watching like a lot of the Marvel, like animated cartoons and everything. And I remember there was a Hanna-Barbera version of The Thing, which looked, talked, and acted just like Thing from Fantastic Four, but instead he turned on his powers via a ring.
yeah, that was like a crossover between Hanna-Barbera and Marvel. Yeah, he had like the ring he would switch, and then he'd turn
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I remember that like aired usually alongside maybe like a Herculoids episode or something like that.
Yep. I'm gonna buy that comic. I can't wait for it to come out. I won't
Well,
be able to get bubble tea when it does, but man,
If
I'm
you
excited.
if you want while you're there, don't forget to look out for again the Rebel Moon comic,
I'll
which
ask.
is a thing, a real thing that exists.
I'm like, excuse
And
me,
as of when I went to the comic book store, they already had issue 3 on the rack. So
excuse me, State of Comics worker. Where are your Rebel Moon comics? I cannot seem to find them on my own. They must have sold out due to their popularity.
yes, that must be what happened. Oh my god, it's so stupid. They are trying to recoup their money, and it's just every time I think about the fact that this interview took place between Zach and George Lucas, and even George Lucas, who is god awful at writing dialogue, listened to this pitch and said, nope, Zach, I don't think this is a good movie. It's just not gonna work. This is bad."
I don't like it. You're just dumb, old man. This is gonna go over huge. Everyone loves my stuff.
I'm gonna take this to Netflix, and we're gonna have better Star Wars with hookers and blow.
All I remember is all the people online prior to it coming out. Star Wars is dead. Rebel Moon is the next thing. They weren't even talking about it 3 days after it came out.
No.
That's when you know it's bad. When the devout Snyderists
Even
don't support
yes,
it.
the devout fans were like, "This is gonna be amazing! Oh my god!" And they're like, they probably got lost in like the first open. Like, "Oh, space vagina, huh?"
I still attack on shows short, saying I've seen this plot before. It's A Bug's Life, where the grasshoppers say we're coming back at the end of summer. You better have more food for us.
That'd be funny if George said to him, "Zach, this movie just came out called A Bug's Life. Did you just like go see that or something?"
Yeah, my kids saw. Why?
Uh-huh.
Reread your script.
Oh. You're right. You know what? Robot boobs would fix us. I didn't say that. Make director's cut now.
And the fact that they were we're releasing this and we're having a Snyder cut coming later on. We know you all like Snyder cuts of his movies, so we're just planning it from the start. What do y'all think of that? Well, we don't. We think nothing of that.
No.
You will not, Pesco. You will not collect 200. Good day, sir.
Oh man.
Well, should we find somebody to raid, sir?
I think we should.
No, A-Tray is on.
Oh yeah. Also, so is Laura Dreaming.
Who should we do? Who do you think?
I'm good with either or.
You know what? Let's do A-Tray. We haven't done in a while.
All right.
Hey, what's Laura Dreaming playing?
Just says Harold Halibut. Last official stream before 2025.
Now, A-Tray, it looks like it's playing Indiana Jones in a circle, the Great Circle.
Ooh. Okay.
New Pokemon set plus Indiana Jones.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Let's do it. So for those of you on YouTube watching us, this is something we do on Twitch, where we send all of our viewers to see another content creator. There is a way to do it on YouTube, but it has to be a live stream going to another live stream. And not everybody live streams on YouTube. We're trying to figure all of that out so we can do it at another time. But we will get there. But if you're on YouTube, if you're watching it live or you're watching it on repeat, please don't forget to subscribe, like, do all the things that help our channel out tremendously and are at absolutely no cost to you. And I did say absolutely. But we're going to raid now, and we will be back Thursday night, January 2nd, to talk about the new episode of Skeleton Crew. We'll be back next Sunday talking about Creature Commandos. We got a lot of stuff, a lot of good things, fun things planned. We'll be doing some more anime before Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man comes out. So give us a subscribe. If you're on Twitch, please subscribe also. Or I should say follow. If you have the money, you could subscribe too. We're not going to complain. But we do appreciate all the support, and we will see everybody on Thursday.
Hey fellow nerds, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.